This is iRacing.
The biggest overhaul since its inception. We find ourselves with the IMSA Vintage Series at a new dawn for racing action. The drivers at the top will look to try and hold their place. Could there be new drivers who understand how to get up to the top level quicker? Well, this first season is all about trial and error. What a circuit to start with trial and error, because I think if you even trial a different line around this place, error will soon swiftly follow. This is Road Atlanta, and this is a bull ring known for Petit Le Mans out there in the world of racing. Welcome to the IMSA Vintage Series for 2026 Season 2 here on the Global SimRacing Channel. My name's Jake Sperry. Along with me for today's ride is Craig King. Christian Deploy is in the director's chair. The cameras are provided to us here as part of a Genesis Extreme production by Dougie Beard. But what to be said about the circuit that pretty much has done it all here in Braselton, Georgia? It is one of the truly magnificent tracks in the world of motorsport, and you'll get a little sense if you are here for the first time of what makes this circuit go around and tick with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Road Atlanta, the scene of incredible sports car racing for decades and the home to the Petit Le Mans. This is a track that has proven itself to be worthy of attention on a world stage. With it being situated only an hour northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, the circuit is in a prime location. But despite its flagship race, in contrast to the real Le Mans, the full course is a measly 2.5 miles long. The club layouts also clock in at just under 2 miles. Packed within this small lap length is a series of technical and challenging corners, some of which can be race-ending even when small mistakes are made. Turn 1 is a fast sweeper which compresses the car into the track, but the high speeds mean that when you go off, you typically go off in a big way. Turn 3 is notorious for its curved entry into a blind apex. Too far inside and you face a cut course penalty. Too far outside and you're likely to spin out. Then there's the unassuming Turn 5. The wide curving lures you into getting greedy, but the close walls on either side gobble up cars and spit them out as a crumpled heap. With all the tricky fast turns, that's not to say that there aren't passing opportunities. The main one comes at the chicane at the bottom of the backstretch. The huge downhill drop into the turn makes outbraking yourself quite easy though, so be careful. The whole thing wraps up with the frightening final corner. With nothing but a giant wall right to the outside as cars fly through at high speed, it's not often that wrecks are small. Boasting a wide swath of series over its history, everything from NASCAR to Indy Lights and of course IMSA, the main use of the track is SCCA events and driving schools. No wonder this place is popular both in real life and here on the iRacing service. Fans will no doubt get to enjoy many more years of action at this incredible track.
A fantastic circuit in every single sense of it, but in multi-class form, Craig, I would say it's behave until you get out of turn 5, the toughest corner on the track, and free-for-all for the second half of the lap.
One of the reasons that the drivers love this track in iRacing is because of that long straight all the way in the back to the chicane. It's a draft track by nature, even though half of it isn't really a straight. So you get to that stage of the race, that's when things start to happen. But to get there, you've got to go through the S's. That's going to be a tough point for overtaking today, especially there is nowhere to go once you get out of turn 2 for overtaking. But it is a little bit of the unknown for the drivers. It's a hotter track than they're used to. These tires need to warm up, and the drivers have been struggling this week getting the speed into the corners because this is just not your dad's GTPs and GTOs anymore. This is your granddad's GTPs and GTOs today. So instead of the multi-class today, it's about keeping all tires on the track.
Survival will be that of the fittest then, and I think there is going to be no other alternatives for drivers to go and navigate through. They know it's going to be tough. They know that there's been a big reduction in the grip levels for the GTPs, and it is going to make for slightly different racing to what we are normally here and looking at. But let's take a little talk because this is the first round of the season, what everyone is going to be going through and navigating today. This is the opening round of 12. They'll have a 40-minute race to start off their haul of points to try and score with open setup, so everyone can build the car slightly differently out there and try and get the best result they can. There are no spare cars if you get into trouble at a place here like this one where it's grass runoff. It's very easy to find barriers at Road Atlanta. Very easy to get in trouble, as will getting 17 instant points. That will allow you a drive-through penalty. And then, of course, when you get over to the limit of 25, it is not an additional penalty. It is a disqualification out there. So drivers will be disqualified at 25 incident points. So they set themselves up ready here in qualifying on what is a bright day here around around this wonderful place of Brazelton, Georgia, not a million miles away from Gainesville, which is the home of AJ Styles. But as they now look to set themselves up, they've got the wind east-southeast at this point in time on the schedule. A nice hot day, a nice moderate track temperature as well here, Craig. 34 Celsius or 94 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, earlier in the week, they've been going around 41, maybe that's about over 100 Fahrenheit, of course. So drivers really struggling to get the power down and get the grip down. So a cooler track today will be interesting to see as some of the drivers struggling. Here is Aleksei Elema, who we haven't seen for a while, coming down. You can just start to see as he starts to brake here for turn 5. Just now, this is where you'll start to see the changes to these GTPs nowadays, because you can't slam this car into the corner. You see him going it in, but in the old day with the almost F1 style car, you could carry that speed so much, and now you're having to roll the car into the corners. Have to be really gentle when you go through there, because you don't have that downforce on the nose, similar to what happened to Jack Brabham when he won Petit Le Mans in this car. You just have to be patient and let the turbo spool up. When you come down to the chicane, again, look at the speed differences in the past. You'd be sending that car into it almost like a modern-day prototype.
Yeah, and you can't do that anymore, and Aleksei Elema is one of the originals out there in iRacing. He is amazing. Gabri Martinez was quickest for a moment, but Elema puts a 108 flat down on the board and says, try and match that. Maybe car 3 has a chance to match that today. That is Jacob Reed, who is hoping to try and get himself then a lot of pace to start his season 2. He is a driver who gets a lot on his plate because he also races around as well in racing action for the iRacing Grand Prix Tour, and that's going to be knocking on the door with action pretty soon as they all look to set. He only goes with a 109 flat to start, so he needs to adjust. There's Johnny Hagner going fastest on an 18.8. I think today, right now, we're seeing here, Craig, today is the greatest hits. All of the old school drivers are back and they want points.
And you want to talk about how this is a gathering? We have 2 splits and there is 40 cars in this split for the top split. This is the second highest strength of field ever for a Nissan, an Audi, I was almost said Nissan GTO, for an Audi GTO field. It is one of the biggest splits. In fact, when was the last time as you saw Gabri going pole? Jake, when was the last time you saw a 5K strength of field in anything in IMSA Vintage?
It's been very tough, and we know that it's the second highest out there as they've tried to go. Gabri Martinez fastest. You've got drivers back like Nick Mucanos, who is lightning quick out there. You're looking around. Xavier Sanchez here, Henning Schwebig, Jacob Reed. You turn down in, you see Polasek, Hagner, Leskala. They're all there, and they're all pushing a 108.1 from Jacob Reed. Good enough then for third fastest with his attempt. Here's Joram van Hicks all the way down in P13. Valenterius, by the way, his first lap, only good enough for fourth fastest. Overall, down the hill goes Joram. And is this going to be enough to jump him a mile up? A 19.4. Well, that will be good enough for 7th place in qualifying. This is a who's who field out there. The band of others car through 10A and 10B. Now, Craig, this is Noel Lundberg.
Noel Lundberg, former champion, would really love to get a good time down here. And is he going to actually try and upset the apple cart? This is a big time that you have to do. Is that an off track? I do wonder. It isn't. Yeah. It's good enough though. Just look at the speed differences. Valenterius is only 4th right now. To give everyone an idea, he's meant to be the gold standard, and the gold standard right now, well, he's not looking very gold at the moment. The nose may be yellow, but that is not gold. Attacking the final curve, he'll come across the line, That's very much better.
It's second, so he's now got to try and find a way in the race to make it happen. Christophe Lenajak, sixth fastest there. He's half a second off the pace in the GTP. Except Hamilton Barrera Ruiz can get around here in the minute 22 and get a second lap down. He's down in 22nd position, the Colombian, and he's got a long way to go to move on up to the order and say, look, I want to start challenging. He's on a 110.8. He's got to find half a second to outspeed Miguel Rangel.
Well, anything can happen, and anything needs to happen, but it looks like he's just having an outlap right now, just trying to get some time out there. Having a look around, we were talking about the straight of field for the GTOs. Nothing really to shout home about for the GTPs. As Barrera Ruiz will come on down, and I believe that timing is correct. Yeah, it's going to be a 3:15. Just get to time in, just to get some more practice time. Practice is needed. It almost feels like a new day at school, Jake. Everyone is learning who everybody is and learning what the curriculum is.
Well, the curriculum right now is who can stop Gabri Martinez. A 107.881 is enough for pole position. Alexia Loma is alongside for company. Jacob Reed and Nicholas Mucanos, they had some legendary battles a year ago. They're on row 2 with Antti Lepisto and Christophe Lenajak. Raul Rosses will start in 7th with Marco Nurmler in 8th. Fabio Dam, who's there in the number 36, the Austrian, is 9th, and Fabian Youngbluth, the German, there in 10th. You've then got the former Porsche All-Star, Xavier Sanchez in 11th, with Brendan Lim alongside him, as Henning Schwebig and Dylan Freckleton will be on row 7. Laust Olsen is 15th, and Seamus Power is 16th. You then have the likes of Josephine Becker and Davide Riccardi, 17th and 18th. Emerson Godin, electing to represent Jersey in iRacing, is 19th, with Carlos Lopez rounding out the top 20. Your last row of GTPs houses Miguel Rangel and Hamilton Barrera Ruiz. A non-qualifying time from Jack David Spickett. He will go from 23rd on the grid. Over to Craig now with a lightning-fast GTO field.
Lightning fast at the top. Michael Poliset deciding, I've got nothing else to do this weekend. Let's get back in the GTOs. He's on pole. Alongside him will be Valenteus, just missing out. Joni Hagner also comes back, and look at that alongside. It's going to be Yuko Leskler as well in 4th. Noah Lundberg will be in 5th with Cal Young in 6th, and then Johan Van Hicks will take 7th with Philip Lake. Yes, Philip Lake in 8th. Mickey Friesen will be 9th, and Josh Brain is 10th, and that's a star-stacked field, so you think the next page is even more star-stacked. Javier Del Olmo will be in 11th alongside Doug Cloud in 12th. Andreas Schuster takes the unlucky 13th, followed by Martin Shirley in 14th. And Shadi and Mad just picks Martin Kraytrick to 15th by 1,000th to be in 16th. Iker Costasalo, no time, in 17th.
So, the field then is set, and they will now have this one pace lap to get the tyre temperatures up, to get themselves ready to go and attack the racing action that is there in front of them. They will know and understand that around a circuit here, like Road Atlanta, the respect has to be in getting into single file as soon as possible. This is one of the trickiest openings to a racing circuit out there. I would argue it might be the trickiest start to a track in the world at the moment, with the way that you've got to navigate turn 3. You turn and brake 2 into 3, then you're down the hill, and then turn 5, the toughest corner, I think, of this circuit, where you batter the curb on the inside, you spat out. You run too wide of your own accord trying to avoid the curb on the inside, you spat in.
But also, let's bring in the factor here. This is now a new tyre. It's the modern day tyre on iRacing. Similar, if you've watched the Lotus 79, you get the idea. That means they are cold tyres. What that means is, in the real world, the Nissans had tyre warmers. So they've got a slightly warm tyre here to get themselves ready for this start. The Audis, no tyre warmers. These are stone cold tyres that they're trying to warm up right now. And that's a big deal, because in races earlier this week, some cars coming over the hill at turn 11 to go down to the final corner, getting wheel spin because there is no heat in those tires, and the track temp's now gone up to 39 Celsius, 103 Fahrenheit. That's going to be even more trouble. So keep your eyes on what happens to the Audis, as they're trying to, as we go back to the wrestling, be like Stone Cold Steve Austin, but they don't want to stun themselves as they go around.
No, there'll be a lot of glass shattering out there in and around, as it will be the control of Michael Polasek here in this second class to try and make sure that they get away with as much power and prowess as possible. Down the run through turn 9 and over towards 10A and 10B. Then through this section, this is the prime place on the lap where we're expecting overtaking to take its hold. In sim date April 1st. So is this going to be a case of a fool's gold, or is this going to be where you find that triumph? In sim time nearing 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Porsche iRacing first safety car is diving over to the right hand side. The control of the field now with Gabriel Martinez, who goes on the drop of the green flag, and 40 minutes worth of racing starts itself off now, and the drive towards turn number 1 immediately is Jacob Reed on the noisy pedal, trying to get the move done here up to turn 2 and into turn 3. Sweeps around the outside, overcooks himself on the brakes. He'll have to abandon then to the club chicane, and everyone will scatter then as he tries to rejoin the circuit. He does well. GTO's off and away.
GTO's off and away, and they started just before the chicane, and I think that was the game plan from Polasek there, enabling the drivers to just get in line, get single file, keeping it calm. I think Cao Young was trying to look for a move on Noah Lundberg, unable to. Dylan Freckleton in the GTPs having a moment already, going around, and more battles as you see up ahead, as some cars still going side by side. That's Alomar, who's not had the best of starts, as we saw. He's side by side right now with Raul Rocha's Guardia, and we come now down to the back straight, the all-important place. Look who's got the inside, and look who just gave up the inside.
Yeah, so Jacob Reed's having to defend here from Nick Mucanos, and Mucanos is there. Aloma went off at turn 5. That's why he dropped those 3 places, and he gets the pass on Raul Rosses, so he'll be happy with that on the start of his race. It's been a nice, clean start through the field. 3 clear at the front of GTO, as it is Polasek, Valenterius and Hagner, your 1, 2 and 3. As it stands, whisper it quietly in the wind. Here is a driver who has had 3 attempts to get the Triple Crown by winning 2 of 3. He is 1 for 3 on conversions of that, and so Algiers Valenterius needs a GTO victory today to put himself in range for tomorrow.
Do we need to whisper it quietly if he's already done it? It doesn't really matter to him, but it matters for the stats. One of the best drivers in recent time, 115 wins over all 3 series, and this is one of his favorite cars to go by in the Audis out there. So really now having to use this dirty air, keep the tires working. Brendan Lim has had a moment out there as well. He's gone around, I believe that was coming through the turn 6-7 complex, but Michael Polasek doesn't really hail from South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands. I think it's a bit too warm out there for sandwiches, Jake. This is kind of ice cream weather, as you like to say. I think it's egg frying weather right there.
Yeah, it's not dog walking weather. You can say that much out there as we're on board with Polasek. Gabriel Martinez taking to this like a duck to water. First car out is Dylan Freckleton from the GTPs. But here's where they're going to start closing in. Very much a case for Polasek of watch out, because there goes Valenterius straight to the inside, and he will look around and say that, look, I want to try and do what I can. At the moment, what I can here is not going to quite be enough for the clearance, but that big wide bowling line is going to work, because you have to try and find as much as you can. Look at this, door open, Jonny Hagner, he's not going to sit by and wait. First to third, blinking you miss it.
And one of the key things with these new tire updates as well is you can start to turn the car in a little bit more. So, dare I say it, you can actually start to have a little bit of battling and a little bit later braking in these Audis right now. Really good to see. Here's Brendan Lim in the picture-in-picture. Yeah, just going side by side, and looks to me like, I don't know if that was a tap, but it did look like the rear was just, it was a tap there. It was just a little bit of a moment there. And Nurmala's gone around as well. This is big. Nurmala did not expect that, and this looks to me that he's just overcooked it going into the chicane. Yeah, this is something that some of the drivers, one of the big things they've been doing, trying to carry too much speed, Jake, into the chicane, and the rear just cannot keep up with the front.
It can't, because as we take the look at Jack David Spickett dispatching of Laust Olsen, what we're starting to find here is when you're trying to hit the brakes, you're going through, all of the braking power is going towards the front of the car as Hagner now getting the drive is going to win out on the brakes and just gets the clearance there to take the race lead in this fantastic pack in GTO. The rears are basically getting more spin speed as they're going into 10A and 10B as we watch Alexia Loma just ragging the car on power off the exit of turn 7. So if they're struggling with the wheel speed and trying to get the car slowed down, what you're going to find more than anything else out there, Craig, is that rear's going to go quicker than the front, and when that happens, rear is just going to say, look, I want to be at the front.
Yeah, the rear really want to be at the front, but they can't do it. And like I said, this was how the car used to be in the real world. There wasn't that aero grip at the front. I know you've got the little planes at the front to try and help, the dive planes to help. It does not help. As we see right now on the board with Guardia, that you see Alama in battling a Jack as well and just can't get it. And that mistake opens up the door for Guardia. Guardia's going to try and do this down into turn 3. They do have a touch. It was a bit too hot there. And again, Jake, another situation of trying to outbrake the car. Anthony Pisto's gone around, though. I think he basically overcut the car. Fabio Dam and Fabian Jungwirth had to get around him.
Yeah, so he locked it up, trying to get it in on turn-in. Car snapped under braking, and round he went. Everyone would have been scared over the blind crest at turn 3 for that. Valentarius back to the inside then is going to make the move, and there we're about to start the lapping process in the next few minutes. And you've got a train right now that goes back to Joram van Hicks of your top 7 at the moment in this. I wouldn't want to be anyone there. Anthony Lepisto, never wise to go backwards into turn 3. I will say that.
Yeah, it would be nice if you could put your nose forward. I know the car looks a bit weird, but it's not a car that looks the same going backwards, and that's a bit unfortunate for him. Over the crest they go. These cars, the drivers have really started to enjoy how the Audis feel. They're a little bit more floaty for some drivers, a little bit harder to get the turn in. Can't get that camber, but the key thing with these new cars is it's a back to school, as I said, as Gabri's now going through the traffic, because they're having to learn how to set up the car differently now. And now they're having to learn. This right there with Gabri Martinez would have been a moment that drivers would have gone for that move in the old days. You don't have the speed now, and even though that's a no-no into turn 5 to make the move, nowadays with these cars, it's an even bigger no-no. You just don't have that mid-corner speed in the Nissans like you used to.
And Gabri lost 1.5 seconds just waiting, going down and back up the S's, and it's going to prove that traffic management, even more now than it used to be, is going to be the critical factor that will make or break races in the GTPs. That much we do know. Gabri Martinez then getting the clearance, but he stays in the line behind Andreas Schuster. He would have gone flying down the inside there. Ilka Kotosalo will see Jacob Reed off the exit. We're on board driver's perspective with Nick Mucanos. He's next car in the line, trying to stay with these drivers, and Jacob Reed is just dancing his way beyond Nick Mucanos, and this was always the issue with Nick Mucanos. He's an incredibly safe pair of hands. Jacob Reed is off the road at turn 1. We said incredibly safe of hands in Nick Mucanos. That's how he fought his championships against Jacob Reed, who's got a better outright pace.
And Jacob Reed is usually a driver that's amazing when it comes to traffic, and the car around the outside of turn 1 just said no. And that's really strange there, because that's something that Jacob's used to handling right now. Is now Roger's Guardia right there trying to battle. Christoph's going to have to look, and I think that's a bit of a pick move for both drivers. And yeah, it started for Alezzachat being picked, and then it was actually Jacob getting picked. So he's going to have to reset and rewind. Almost, did you see that little wobble there getting on the throttle, Jake? He really is trying to battle hard here, and I think Jacob is not. He likes the new set and new cars. I don't think he's getting to grips with this track. It's now 41 Celsius out there.
It's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and right now I would not want to be just an ordinary southern country lawyer out there here today in what these cars would be right now, the equivalent of a courtroom without any air conditioning in it at this stage. Polasek still looking to try and get to second here, eyeing up Hagner straight down the inside. Hagner trying to cut back for a chance at turn 3. Watch out in the line here, because you got Nick Mucanos who's trying to get into play here. Then Elena Jacques still having to scrap here the pole against Jacob Reed, and they're just trying to pick through this group. And you just have to be eyes on a swivel now, because they're not just going to blink by you as you look to go through and you hold your line. You now have to wait and you go, are you going or are you not? There's that trepidation for the GTOs, and look at how it's opening up this field. Suddenly, it's a case of now Aldrius Valentarius getting himself about a half a second to play with.
And the key thing as well, even though these are the best drivers in IMSA Vintage, you have to still keep your eyes on the fact that these GTPs may loop the car around. So you have to worry about that nowadays. Polisek just holding on right now, losing that position, but he doesn't, or gaining that position, so he doesn't need to worry too much. And I think he'll just get held up here for going in. We also look back at number 22, Jack David Spickett. He's having some battles. They're going to go 3 wide. That's Andy Lepisto. He's battling there. Lepisto's going to take the inside here for the chicane. And I'll tell you what, Jack's going to fight this around the outside and holds on to it. Fantastic as they go down the hill, over the bridge, under the bridge they go, sorry. They are not wobbling free, but they're underground, they're overground. Jack David Spickett is definitely up.
Yeah, that's through on Auntie Lepisto. Josephine Becker, she's trying to get through. Javi Del Olmo here is getting by Mickey Frieson's battle right now. And always a bit of contact and just wrestling away through to the inside is Hamilton Barrera. And so everyone's trying to give themselves room. Pushed out of line is Josh Brain there, as Brendan Lim was having none of it. Marco Nurmela in the mix too. Del Olmo's holding that 9th place. Mickey Friesen right now, his biggest struggle out there at the moment is he keeps finding a box full of neutrals.
And that's one of the things, is this new gearbox as well. One of the things we've not talked about in these GTOs is the gearbox. And it's been made to really just help drivers to give it more of a realistic feel, because it was more modern day gearbox, make it feel a little bit more classic. So you've got to be a little bit more patient. Hagner's gone off. Hagner has had a moment out there.
Well, he's had Seamus Power basically bully him off the road at turn 6, so that's GTP on GTO. Seamus was immediately on the radio to apologise there, Craig. And so when you sit and look at that, that's the first time a driver's gone, I think I used to have old school braking property and I just didn't make it.
Yeah, and it's muscle memory. And this is the drivers, even though they've had a week to work on it, it is still the muscle memory. We're looking at Van Hicks. Here's that moment here with Joni Hagner. Yeah, just going a bit too much there. And at some point, that corner is just going to be closing up. And that GTO has to make it. Joni's gone down a few places, unfortunately, due to that. And he's now down into 4th. Here's Van Hicks, definitely struggling out there. Got Joni in front of him, got Noah Lundberg in front. But yeah, these gearboxes now, you have to be a little bit more patient. You have to make sure the rev's a little bit lower than what you used to be. You can't just throw that gear in now. But it also means that the drivers are finding neutral a bit more, because they're still not used to this patience. And also some drivers just not having the best of luck with it. Another driver that's gone around, it looks like Lars Olsen, the veteran. He's gone around as well.
Yeah, car number 37, that's up at turn 5, and I wonder whether he, sorry, that's at turn 7, and it's off the exit there. So a half spin that's caused him a lot of problems as he tries to get up to speed, as Joran Van Hicks now continues on his battle charge here with Cal Young. Those two were fighting for the title last year. Here they find themselves looking at the points going, are we even going to get a top 5 this year?
You never know. This has just really brought out all the old names and all the new names as well. Still there in the second split. Really wanting to knock on the door, but knock on the door they will. Van Hicks is going to do this. Say it with me, folks. Around the outside of Cal Young. And now Cal's just going to have to give up. And I'll tell you what, there's around the outside. And he's done it on many tracks before here, Jake, including the hairpin at Long Beach. But around the outside of turn 12, tip of the hat there.
Oh, damage for Mickey Friesen. You can see the front left corner is pulled up, and so he's going to have to come in for repairs. So really tough on Mickey Friesen. He's not gelling with this, and he's got a very difficult start to running out there at this point. Aldrius Valenteas currently at a margin of 2 seconds, because Polisek has come together with Brendan Lim, and so he's had to go through the S's in the grass, and that has brought him back to Yuko Leskala in 3rd. Valenteas 2 seconds clear. Watching Aloma here in 5th position fight with Elena Jacques. We're already looking at about 15 minutes in to a race now of 40. Wide is going to go Elena Jacques, and Aloma is just going to breeze around the outside. Perfect.
Yeah, I think a lot of it as well is that Christoph had a slide and he was still trying to catch the slide. So he's overheated those tires, and on a 41 Celsius track, he's going to have to be careful. Let's talk about Josephine Becker, the 35 today. Remember, 40 cars, so just getting into this top split. But She's been really putting some hard work in. She was in the Audi. She's moved over to the Nissan this season, or for this race. We don't know if that's going to be a permanent move. And she's doing pretty well against Wrangle right now. She's up 3 places. Barrera Reese behind her, the hardest charger as well, up 7. And Marco Nurmela, it has not gone well for him. He's had a moment out there as well. The number 28, he has towed. He's retired the car. He said sayonara. There's a lot of damage on the rear of that car. He lost it at turn 3, sorry.
Oh, that's an early loss, turn 3. You don't want that. Fabio Dam, though, looking at a way to go and get through in the Bauer Racing Tic Tac car out there at this moment. So great to see. There is Nurmela's spin through turn 3. Oh, and it's the worst ones when you have a hit like that, Craig, at not very much speed, but the weight that or the energy that is dispersed basically makes the car undrivable.
Yeah, and I know that they've made these cars a little bit too sensitive at the moment for keeping Leskola on. They've made them a little bit too sensitive. I do know from iRacing they're going to revert those changes, but for this race and maybe next week, they have to be prepared for a little bit more fragile cars that will produce more meatball flags. And I think that's what happened with Mickey. Had a little bit of a run into the back there of Javier Del Olmo, got the meatball flag, had to come in for a quick bit of repairs to get back out there. He could cost Salo. Well, doing pretty well out there, but this is, give a tip of the cap here to Christian De Boy, because this has been 15 minutes here, Jake. It's been non-stop action, even before we got to the traffic. And now we got to the traffic, if anything, it's kind of calmed down a little bit.
Ever so slightly. So they've now worked out, okay, we've done a run through traffic. We now know what it's going to be like. We don't have to worry as much. It has split the field out into these little pocket groups here of 2. So you've got Cottosalo and Brain, Andreas Schuster trying to stay with Javier Del Olmo out there, for example. That's what we're sitting down and dealing with at the moment. You've also got the fact that you've got drivers like, let's say, for example, Jacob Reed, who's just seen Doug Cloud go off the road in front of him as he's barged his way through in the GTP. And Doug's on the radio immediately to go, hey, buddy, you can't just drive through me. And so now here's another driver who will be looking around at it because, you know, Jacob Reed, he's trying to stay with Mucanos. If he can't stay with Mucanos, he's in this position right now. Look at the 3 behind him, 4-car train now in GTP.
Yeah, and a lot of that was, as I was saying, the old GTP could make that move going down into turn 5. These cannot, and I think that was one of the reasons that we're on board for the first time this season with the 007 cam, and the Worcesterman is struggling out there. And I do wonder, does he have any bit of damage on the rear? I thought he did. It's just the curvature and the color of the wing. He's okay, but this is the problem with Road Atlanta, especially in a sprint race like this. The moment you look, but the moment you make some mistakes, you start looking behind. They got to look in front, though. There are 4 GTOs in front of them battling. And for a split second, Jacob Reed has to go 3 wide to make a desperation move.
And there's contact between the GTOs. Javier Del Olmo then and Andreas Schuster side by side. Watch out the rejoin. Aloma down the hills doing well with it. But then he goes off the road and the field completely balked right now for Elena Jacques and Raul Rosses. This is turning into their own scrap. And Elena Jacques nowhere to go. He's trying to force the lane through the middle. Nowhere to go and get by. Raul Rosses has to hit the brakes. Now here's the issue with GTO versus GTP. It is the responsibility of the GTP to get by. The GTOs have to respect that the GTP is trying to get through, and they have to facilitate a pass because they're doing so much side by side. That's the earliest availability to do so.
Yeah, I don't fault Jacob for that move at all. He had to make that at some point, otherwise you get held up. And with all due respect, we're not talking about the fact that he loses his battle here. It would also mean that he would just hold everybody up, and that would actually, in my opinion, cause more mistakes. So as we see, got the Sala going a little bit wide there, taking a bit too much at the rear. If you do have to force that moment, I think the GTOs got a little bit spooked there, and that caused the moment. But Sala goes wide, loses the battle, and as I was saying at the start of the lap, now has to look backwards instead of forwards, as he's got Josh Brain behind him.
Yep, so Josh Brain's going to bring himself into play. Fabio Dam trying to go around the outside of the Beast Racing. Number 19, piloted by Henning Schwebig, working through the right-hand bend and then the left at 3 and into 4. Now through the S's section, they catch the big main train that we've seen of GTOs and having to be patient out of turn 5. You can't get the launch down the hill and back up using gravity. You don't get that slingshot, so you have to be patient now as we head towards the halfway stage. of this race, and now you get the understanding of where mentality lies. Schwebig then opening the door of Ilkka Kottasalo and realizing Fabio Dam is still going to be there. Yuko Leskala still trying to find a way to second. They still have eyes of grandeur of winning this race here. They're still only 2 seconds behind Adrius Valenteus.
And this would actually be big because Valenteus has never been challenged in a situation like this in a GTO. Usually, when you see the GTPs going and, yeah, just see Jacob Reed and McCann having a battle with Jack Davis Pickett continues to have a battle. Usually, Valenteus is used to see Jacob Reed make the fight back here, not Polasek in a GTO. So that's going to be one to keep your eyes out for. Fabio, what have you got? Is Jack Davis Pickett right in beside you? Almost touching there, and that was very close. I think Fabio's not happy. I don't know what he does on the radio. I'm not sure if he was happy or was apologizing there. I think Jack turned in a little bit too late there. A lot of space he could have made. Here comes Josephine, probably showing how it could be done. And around the outside, or the inside, sorry. Almost there for Miguel Rangel.
Yeah, Miguel Rangel then getting the jump then ahead of Josephine Becker. Fabio Dam would have looked around at Jack Davis Pickett. He will see a mark of black on the side of that green and white car, not happy. Mucanos under pressure here. Jacob Reed's fought himself back into position. Long way around it's going to have to be. Inside at 10B. Out of my way. Jacob Reed through. He's now got to catch. Get this. 11 seconds at the front of this field. That's the difference maker that you are seeing in a race like this. Both of them dropping major time. A 1:13 on that last go here for Nick Mucanos. He was stuck for a very long time from some very important corners. With some of the ways the traffic will go, you could lose up to 4 seconds a lap.
And all this week, nobody has had the pace like Gabriel Martinez has had the pace. As we're keeping our eyes right now on Brendan Lim as he's trying to catch up to David Ricciardi in front. No one has had the pace this week like Gabriel Martinez. And we always talk about the aggressive moves he does through the traffic. It works for him right now. There is nobody, and I'm saying this and I'm knocking on wood, there's only a couple drivers that I know of that have been this connected to the new GTP, and you've got to give it to this man, Gabriel Martinez, who had his best season last season in the series. And I feel that if he can dominate like this, I think Valenteus might need to get back in the GTP because I can't see Jacob catching him right now in this series.
Not today. That's the critical fact. Not today. As now Mucanos in trouble as he'll fall now outside of the top 3 into 5th position and now 6th. Has something happened then through the final corners? I think it has. Mucanos was getting climbed over the top of the hill and he had a spin through 11 over the top of the hill. The brow, a corner that in almost every car this is flat out. I don't see many people spinning here.
No, I have seen it with a GTO having moments up there, but I've never seen anything like that. While we're looking at this replay as well, Lesnar Jack and Guardia have had a moment on the exit of turn 3, but that's such a weird moment. I had to look back because for a moment I was thinking, was that just the rear bouncing and then he losing the car? But the Nissans don't have that pogoing effect anymore. I'll get the words out, they'll be bouncing in and out of my mouth. So that's very interesting to see what happened there. That looked like the grip just went goodbye. That's unheard of right now.
So it was power on. Oh, there was a tiny tap. There was a tap between Raul Rosses and Christophe Valenajak. It was as light can be. It forced both cars to get aero loose, and that's why they went around as Leskala still fighting here with Polasek. So here's the look, here's the tap on the rear, just there, and both of them, unsettled front, unsettled rear. Look at that, get him in the Olympics for synchronized swimming.
Yeah, when you have an unsettled front and unsettled rear, well, maybe you combine them and then you get one unsettled car. Well, we get 2 unsettled cars because of it, so unfortunate for those drivers. Thankfully, everyone gets around, so they're still 5th and 6th, respectively. Yuko Leskala, though, what's a comeback? Look at the names again. It's insane when you think about it, to see the drivers that are here today, just to see what this new car is doing, and they love what the new car is doing. But Leskala having a moment, and I wonder if that was a little bit of a mid-shift gear, but Becker decides I have to get through, and that's not what Yuko would want. Now he's got Joni Hagner behind him, and that was a little bit of an excuse me move there from Josephine. Not entirely sure that was a move that was on.
Well, whether it's on or off, it happened, and they gave themselves the space. Javier Del Olmo's moves very much on at the moment as he tries to get back at Andreas Schuster. Hamilton Barrera Ruiz trying to figure a way through then in this battle going on right now. You've got Ilka Cottosalo and Josh Brain still there as well. There's the clearance of one. Not going to get the clearance then through turn 6 is Josephine Becker. She still tries to get the move on Miguel Rangel, but pretty in pink at the moment is Miguel, holding his ground very nicely. Leskler down to 4th. Jonny Hagner back on the podium.
Jonny Hagner making that move pretty early down the back straight, and that's what he wanted to do. Doesn't need to be aggressive, doesn't need to attack. And now he can look to work up to the front. Need to find 1.7 seconds in 15 minutes, and on a track this quick, that's going to be tough. Josephine, what have you got left? As we're seeing now Javier Del Olmo having his own little battles out there as well as he's trying to hold on to this position. The number 34, the Spaniard. It's crazy to think at the number 34 car in 40 cars, this man's a former champion, just turns it a bit too early there on Schuster and just causes the small tap. And now the traffic is bunched up. Just a small mistake there, and now he has to look backwards to Cottosalo.
Yeah, they're all there. They're all lining up as Josephine Becker. She still can't quite find the move that unlocks everything here. And so we're really getting a sense of where everyone's trying to rag on the attacks around this Road Atlanta circuit. What a place to start a season off here, Craig, when you consider that they are in an effective bull ring today. There goes Becker sailing down on the brakes on the inside. She's up now to 13th. Lucky for some.
Yeah, lucky for some, and I think a lot of that was due to the fact that she was able to get ahead before they came to the braking, and you just saw right there that Miguel decided it's not even worth trying to make a side-by-side battle there, so just gave up the position to fight another day. These four want to fight for another day and more, and once again, and you've got to start thinking that you may need to chuck some sort of blanket over these drivers, as Del Olmo will have to try and do this around the outside. And I'll tell you what, it has happened at this rate for a driver around the outside of the start of the chicane at 10A. Not going to happen this time, but did you notice Cottosalo? He's getting a little bit itchy out there. He really wants to get involved in this fight.
Yeah, Ilka wants to get in, but he realises the pace is too good for him to stay with any sort of form. Jacob Reed jumps his way through the group then and remains at that 11-second margin behind the 8 ball of Gabri Martinez at the moment. But Del Olmo is holding his ground well. Then Schuster, then Cottosalo, who gets Alexia Loma down the inside, and then Josh Brain. Now it's 2 and 2. Car off the road. In front is Philip Lake, who's gone for a spin on the exit of 3, start of 4. So he lost the rear through 3, tried to catch it, and the car hung itself around in a low-speed drift.
I think as well, trying to run it on the curve as well. Hang on, that's a little bit weird to go 3 wide. Yeah, 3 wide around the outside. That's not going to be good. And Alexi again going a bit too wide. Just getting a little bit too hot there, and this is going to hold these drivers up a little bit, not knowing what they're going to do side by side. Mid-shift from Javier has just caused a little one there, and that we haven't seen happen yet this race, but the gearbox has taken a victim.
Javier Del Olmo wanted drive off the exit. He missed his shift. He got nothing. Bang! Andreas Schuster had no way of getting out of that, and so there was the contact that caused drama in the GTOs. So Javier Del Olmo, who was looking for a top 10, now is going to be sitting then and saying, look, I can't quite get exactly what I need out of this run. Brain now up into the top 10, and now here comes Raul Rosses and Christopher Lenajak trying to jump through. Wide then goes Ilka Cottosalo. Thank you, says Josh Brain.
Yeah, but I don't think he's Chad Gable right there. I think he's looking to be something like a masked hero, but having a small moment now, right now by both of them. Around the outside, That was always going to happen. That's so tough to go side by side going down there, and Josh getting caught up there and into the wall. Now he's facing the wrong way, in the worst place in the world to be facing the wrong way. You can't spin the car on the grass here. You're going to have to get it in a spin, get it in reverse, keep on going, and does so. There had been a couple other toes in the GTPs, but we just look at this, Jake. Miguel Rangel lost it at this corner and lost the nose. Fabio Dam as well, about half a minute beforehand, he had some moments out there as well and had to take a toe.
Yeah, so everyone is now working out that this is as tough can be. This is probably one of the toughest initiations into the series if you're brand new to it. If you're here for the first time and watching it, it's not always like this. And there goes another one in the background. That's Carlos Lopez with a spin.
And that's one of the reasons it's tough. You're trying to carry too much speed going into turn 3. And what happens? Rinse and repeat. I'm like a broken record, but it is true. The rear just goes, and that's one of the things you have to learn about this car. It's a tough car. It's a car that will make you work for it, because these were cars that didn't have TC, didn't have ABS, so you have to be a little bit more gentle. Yes, we're talking the cream of the crop, and remember, that Nissan is a IMSA Hall of Fame car. If it wasn't for this car, the 787B probably never would have been developed by Mazda, and Nissan still had a lot of power. They took another version of this to Le Mans. Didn't exactly work out very well, but you just get the idea of what those Nissans do. It's very careful on the brakes now. If anything, it's almost like a role reversal in the series now. The Audis used to be the ones to be careful on the brakes. Now it feels like it's the Nissans and the Audis. They're loving the braking.
They are, and I also turn around and say the 787B from Mazda is immortalized as one of the great racing cars. What everyone forgets is that it was a dog of a car that won at Le Mans because it was able to go where everyone else couldn't.
Yeah, but we just gloss over that. But that is what made endurance racing what it was, and that's what got me into endurance racing. That's got a lot of us into endurance racing, and surely that is what got Martin Shirley into endurance racing or sports car racing, seeing the likes of those, but he's having a tough time getting Shaddy.
Oh, bye-bye.
Shaddy, yeah, bye-bye there. I haven't seen him in a GTO for a while, and I think he just showed why he's still learning the GTO as a little bit of a tough move out there.
Yeah, he had to turn twice through the corner, which is never ideal. And then on the second turn in, he put too much rotation in, and the car just decided, I'm not going to snap back. So Shadi Ahmad, 13th in the GTOs right now, and needing to have a little bit of a safety blanket out there at this point. Cotasalo still hoping that he can get by Philip Lake to get up into 8th position. Philip Lake is a driver whose pace, I think, belies his iRacing out there. He's the number 31 driver in this field. Every single car in front of Philip Lake right now in this GTO field is single digits in their iRating, which means they're top teners.
Well, you look at it, Philip Lake's a 3.9k driver. Everyone else above him is over 6.4 iRating. That just goes to show how strong this strength of field is right now when you've got that. And I look back at this. The average strength of field, as they're going to go side by side, is 4,600. That's combined for all 40 drivers. 40 drivers with 2 splits. When was the last time we saw 40 drivers and have a strength of field that much? Well, I don't think we ever have, and that just goes to show how good it is. Philip Lake loses the rear, catches it, and that's some old school effort there. Philip knows how to drive this car, and he just got a really nice little catch there.
I will say that 6.4 iRating is about mine out there as we get ready with 8.5 minutes to go. Oh, that's off the road at turn number 1. Careful on the rejoin right in front of Philip Lake there. That is Davide Riccardi, the Swiss driver, then just about keeping himself out of trouble. Now, I wonder as well how close we're going to be to some incident points with the number of offs and little dinks and chips there will be on these cars. And so they'll be sitting down looking at it and saying, right, this is one of the toughest days we've had. We've got a battle on as well for third. We have to go to it overall. Nick Mucanos has fought back to the rear of Alexia Loma.
And that's a real good fight back there. You really need to look at that when it comes to, you know, the end of this race right now at this stage, and not going to get anything else, but going to look for a podium out there as Mucanos is still down the S's, trying to find where can I make moves right now. Goal 1, get to the back of Alexi. Goal 2, can I look for it as well? Josh Brain's had a moment out there. Now, is Josh Brain got damage, or is Josh Brain actually got a drive-through? I did see something out there, but I think that's not a black flag.
Oh, he got into the back of Jacob Reed through turn 5. Reed dived down the inside, had no drive, and then was in all sorts of trouble from that point onwards. So there's really not much more you can say, except that was as tough can go. But Josh Brain will feel hard done by because he had the traction on the exit and basically wasn't expecting Jacob Reed to go nowhere. We'll see it now.
Yeah, we know he's had an issue with Doug Cloud through this corner, and yeah, he does have the speed, but he doesn't have the grip and he doesn't have that downforce like you have. And that's another moment where, with no offense, that's not a move you should be making nowadays. A lot of the drivers have been having that issue, and I just feel that that is just one that you can make it, and you are an F1 driver. You're a very good F1 driver, But in multi-class, I think that's not on because these Nissans, these Audis, sorry, they're going to be carrying more speed through corners than you normally would think now because of how much speed you're losing. So Fabian Jungbluf and Jack Davis-Pickett, and by the way, Jack's up 16 places into P7. They're going to have to hope that they don't make those mistakes later as there's a car just parked off to the side of the road.
Carlos Lopez it is, trying to get back up to speed. He's just spun in front of the field again, so Xavier Sanchez gets away with one. So too does the GTO leader, Adrius Valenteus, who's now almost 2/3 of the way to what will be a 4th attempt at the Triple Crown for Lotus 79s tomorrow. So you sit down, 6 minutes left on the clock, and for the moment, it's a case of Yuko Leskala now thinking about, can I get this podium back? Joni Hagner right now is holding his ground well, and now this is where the Finns have the game right now in the final 540 here of stick or twist. Do we go for third, or do we try and knuckle down and try and catch Polasek for second?
Do you know what? I think they might need to. I know Polasek had a moment out there because he went onto the chat with some questions to people. So I do wonder if he's just a little bit damaged there. And in fact, actually, I'm looking at the back of Polasek's car, and I thought there was a little bit of damage, but there isn't. It's just the way the car looks. But yeah, they could do this right now. They could slingshot, but I don't know if they're able to slingshot right now. Yuko is not close enough. So maybe it's a case that they're just going to have to look for opportunity to come up together. But who's the driver that's more confident through the technical section of this track? Leskala really catches up to the back of Hagner. But then it's almost like he doesn't have the gears when they come to the straight. And I do wonder if he's got a little bit of a straight. Oh, Lars Olsen had a bit of a slide. That was close. That was always a move on, Jake. But when you start sliding out of 3, 4 doesn't really help you.
No, and this is why this is one of the toughest opening sections of a race circuit in the world, because every corner requires you to be perfect. Anything short of that, you're off the circuit, you're in the walls, you're out the race, you name it. It's one of the toughest sections of circuit to get correct at any given point in time. JDS in 6th will also be eyeing up Elena Jacques for a top 5 out there, and Leskala realising, oh, Michael Polasek's gone now, that he's 2 seconds down the road, so very tough to get back. Leskala, if I was Yuko Leskala with 4 minutes to go, right now it's, can I get a podium?
I think that's what he's going to have to look for right now. He's going to have to start attacking to Joni Hagner, going to have to start looking that I've got the confidence through some of these opening corners. Yeah, Roches as well is going to get onto that. Guardian has lost the car. I think he's lost the sim. I think he's had a sim crash because he's nowhere to be found on the track. I was just looking back at that, but I was going to say, Leskala, this is the part of the track he needs to attack in. As much as we've been talking a lot about can't really go side by side through here, I think he has to force the issue at some point. He's just so much more calmer and smoother through these tight sections. He needs to utilize that. And here, this is the last chance he's got to make an overtake, I feel, at turn 6, because I don't think he can catch up on the straights, come down to the chicane.
Bit of dirt there on the windscreen there. You could have accused it to be a chip that needed to find itself replaced. Leskala looking around at it, and they are also at the mercy here of the car directly behind them, Gabriel Martinez, who's going to be going through. So they get one less lap to go and fight for that 3rd place overall, and that's going to be critical because they're doing about 1 minute 10 lap time around here at the moment, your leader Gabriel Martinez. So anything at 2:20 left on the clock as he crosses the line is going to be key. There goes Leskala straight through on the inside, so Joni Hagner will now try and get the run out of 10B, get the attack back, and they have license to do it. Gabriel has the margin to sit down and be patient, allows them the chance to fight. He'll now pick the power up off the exit. 2:29 on the clock, 3 laps to go.
And that's maturity from Gabriel. He could have just gone, excuse me, coming through, but he also knew that he had to just preserve the race win here. So no reason to go for anything too aggressive there. So he was just happy, and Leskala makes the move that I think he wanted to make the move a lap ago. So now he gets now he's able to just push down. And I wonder about tire wear, because I know you don't really talk about the tires wearing out, but are the tires overheating now for Hagner? Does Yuko just have cooler tires? And I think that's the key thing. Keep the tire temps down, and you're going to do well in these cars. Even in these cars right now, as Fabian Jungblum trying to battle Jack Davis-Pickett. Jack is up 17 places, and he's still trying to hold on to this. He could get a top 5. A second ahead of him is Alessa Jack.
Well, if they work together, they've got half a chance. The Minolta livery there on Fabian Youngblood. Henning Schwebig there for Beast Racing. Sits on the back of this, and he's going to be there in the popcorn seat, looking at this going, can I go and get this move? That's what I'm really clamoring for. But into 6, it's on camber. Into 7, it's off. It's almost like I'll sucker you in, and then I'll hit you with a gut punch.
Can I have the stone in the pillow next time instead of the gut punch? But that's the same idea. It won't be the final lap. I think Gabriel Martinez is just going to not cross the line in time. In fact, yeah, we're probably going to go around once again. Remember, these cars were doing about 104s last time in the old update. Now they're doing 19s, 110s in traffic. So this has also extended the race by an extra lap. When you think of it like that, it's Fabian Youngblood still trying to hold off Henning Schwebig as well as catch up to Jack David Spickett. And if he's going to do it, he's going to have to try and do his Lednerjack style around the outside of turn 1. Can't do it because his name's not Christopher Lednerjack.
No, so can't find the move. Again at turn 3, isn't going to have the angle to make it happen. Oh, catches the curb. Round goes Fabian Youngblood, and he will lose 8th place. He'll keep it. No, he'll just loop it around at the end. That's going to be a heartbreak then for Fabian, as he's going to have to try and get up to speed. Thank you. Goes through Javier Sanchez. He'll pick one up, and now this final lap about to start for Gabri Martinez out there. Joni Hagner looking for his podium here with Alexia Loma trying to get through behind, and 9 seconds the difference then on the clock as they go. Hagner looking to try and jump over the top, but again Aloma just taking that time and that placement away. Traffic catching for Joni. Wrong place, wrong time, and so this is going to be very tough to deal with. Up through at turn 5 goes Gabri Martinez, who has put his foot down on the GTP field like Obafemi on Brock Lesnar on Monday Night Raw. He has simply been on another level, and a driver who's seen now Laust Olsen go off in front of him, he will look around and say, if that's the level everyone's struggling at, I've been a driver who's been a nearly man in this series for so very, very long. Now I might have found my series, my pace, my ability to get up to the top and say, everybody watch out, because the glory of today is going to be Gabri's. Down through 11 and 12, Gabri Martinez takes GTP honours.
With dominance as well, and not just due to the fact he had cleaner air. He was able to just hold on tight. Valenteus is going to be coming across the line very shortly, and we've got to whisper it because he won earlier and he won now. That's 2. It's attempt number 6. Was it? No, attempt number 4, apologies, for Valenteus tomorrow in the Lotus 79. Jack David Spickett is in a close battle right now with Lednerjack, but it's too late. He needed one more lap, and Joni Hagner, unable to get past Yuko Lester at the end, tried to do what he could, was unable to get anything at the end there. Here's your final battle on the race. Doug Cloud trying to get to Cotasalo.
Yeah, Doug Cloud, look at him here, because he has got a bit of damage on the front right that he's trying to navigate with at the moment. So he's just trying to get this run out of 10B. Needs help then from Brendan Lim down the inside. Will that offer enough of a chance to go through? Ilka comfortably lets that go, and so no position changes between them. It's a very short run to the finish line here at Road Atlanta, and it proved that it was going to be a difficult race. Just how difficult, we had a very good insight to it. Gabri Martinez, though, dominates the GTP category in 41 minutes and 3 seconds. He will win by a margin of 12.8 over Jacob Reed, with Alexia Loma in 3rd position. It's Nicholas Mucanos in 4th ahead of Christopher Lednerjack and Jack David Spickett. Henning Schwebig will be 7th, with Javier Sanchez then in P8. Fabian Youngblood will get 9th overall, as Antti Lepisto will round out your top 10 in his machine out there. You then got 11th Josephine Becker. She's ahead of Brendan Lim and Davide Riccardi, who are the last finishers on the lead lap. It's a lap down for Laust Olsen, Emerson Godin, and Carlos Lopez. And your retirees, they disconnect from a strong position for Raul Rosses. Miguel Rangel out of the race. Fabio Dam, another one who found himself out of the top 10. Hamilton Pereira Ruiz would be a retiree, as well as Marco Nurmela, Seamus Power, and Dylan Freckleton. Over to Craig King to run down GTOs.
Well, it's kind of similar to what happened in the GTP, but Valenteus had to get past Polasek to get to the lead, and then he never lost it. Polasek will have to be content with P2, and Yuko Leskala will take third. And I think one of the reasons Johnny Hagner held off into P4, he was actually close to incident point limit, so he didn't really go aggressive there. He held on to fourth. Noah Lundberg will stay in fifth, and Johan Van Hicks will go into sixth. Cal Young falls to 7th, and Nico Cotasalo will be 8th, up 9 places there. Up 3 places for Doug Cloud into 9th, and Philip Lake, he was also close to incident limits, but he falls down into 10th. Just one more driver on the lead lap, and it's Martin Shirley who finishes in 11th. Kraytrick will be a lap down in 12th, so will Shadi Ahmad and Mickey Friesen, who had to go and get some repairs in 14th. Andreas Schuster be the last man still driving in 15th place, with Josh Brain taking an early retirement, and Javier Del Olmo, after that little incident with Mickey earlier, having to take the retirement.
Very tough day at the office for many of them out there, but it goes to show this is a new era, Craig, that we are sitting ourselves and getting ourselves ready for. So what do you expect to see from these drivers, understanding that today was about finding out what you've got, and a lot of drivers proved they had a lot of pace, but a lot of drivers also proved just how tough this racing was.
And I think this was the ultimate track to have these drivers showcase what's going to happen. And it's going to be interesting when you look at the races coming up later in the season. You go to Motegi next week, it's Adelaide the week after, then they get ready for the IMSA Classic 500 at Laguna. So this is the track that really, in my opinion, you look at what's the best track to try and get everything all sorted. I feel this is that track. This is like the American Spa, where if you want to learn how to do everything on a track, you go to Spa. Here, it may not look it. If you want to learn how to get through tight technical sections, keep the speed, and work on your speed into chicanes, this is the perfect track. If they needed a shakedown, this was the perfect place to shake it down.
So that shakedown has proven itself to be fantastic. In 1 week's time, we'll be back with racing action, which will be taking its place from the Mobility Resort Motegi out there. A wonderful circuit that has seen it all and done it all. It's hosted on its oval, the likes of IndyCar. It's had MotoGP so very often on its run in the road circuit. You can catch that once again, 5 p.m. UTC, 1 p.m. Eastern for that one. You do not want to miss racing action here with us on the Global SimRacing Channel. There is also a lot that will be coming up tomorrow and into next week as well, because the SimRacing Republic GT Open will reach its championship finale over at Sebring. Catch that tomorrow from 1:45. You can join myself there for that with Ossian Puhaka. You got then the race for the Triple Crown again for Aldrius Valenteus. He's got to do it at the very tricky VIR, America's Green Hell. That's on Sunday at 4:30 UTC. The Porsche's Owners Club is going to be heading over to the Adelaide Street Circuit. That is going to be a very important challenge to start things off Tuesday or Monday, depending on where you are. And then on Porsche Carrera Cup North America, you've got on the Porsche channels the run of round 2 of the championship from the Miami International Autodrome, who will find themselves with a great result after Coanders 1-2, and who will be missing in action there. A day of dominance for Gabri Martinez. He has been threatening to be this quick. He has been threatening to find victories, and this update and refresh very well may be his season. But as we head towards a Sunday to start off a season, we're already having to say it again. Aldrius Valenteus, the gold standard, looking to get his second Triple Crown in the books. All he'll have to do is hold out at VIR. We'll see you for racing next week here on the Global SimRacing Channel as we head to Mobility Resort Motegi.
This is iRacing.